Welcome to our modern mutual fund, a mutual fund that my teammates and I have built so you and us can tackle the running bull that is the crypto market while also keeping our hands on five of the most robust stocks in Thailand. Let's start by introducing you to the assets that will be available to you through investing in our mutual fund. Let's talk about cryptocurrencies. We are investing in big names such as the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Cardano, while also investing in other cryptocurrencies that we believe to have potential as well. We also invest in stocks that are robust, such as the BTS Group's holding, the KZE Electronics, and the Energy Absolute. And in order to satisfy your risk-taking levels, we have come up with three portfolios for you to choose from. The first portfolio is the minimum variance portfolio, suited for low-risk investors. In this portfolio, you get an average return of 3% per month with a very low variance of 3%. Even though we have assets that can return us on average of above 10%, those assets only get 0.5% of the investment weight. Those assets include the Binance Coin, the Cardano, and Link, because they are very volatile and inconsistent, and thus they pose higher risk to investors. Now let us analyze the value at risk and the tail value at risk of this minimum variance portfolio. We are approaching this through the parametric approach. And through the calculations provided, we can see that we only have a 15% chance of losing 15% of the portfolio value. And we have only 15% chance of losing 24% of the portfolio value in the unlikely event that are not accounted for in our probability. Moving on to the comparison between our portfolio return to the market return, we are trying to find beta, or the measurement of the systematic risk within our portfolio. And through the calculation, we have found that beta denoted by MKT or F is only 0.24, which is significantly lower than 1. This means that the risk posed by our portfolio is significantly lower than those of the market.
Here is a portfolio tool. I am going to talk about the portfolio tool, which is about medium risk investor who targeted minimum variance portfolio with 10% expected return for a year. This portfolio has the mean of 2.98% per month, the variance of 3%, and the standard deviation of 18%. The variance suggests to us about how stable this portfolio is. The higher the variance, it suggests how far the data is away from each other. For this case, the gap between individual data is small, so it has a low variance, which suggests that the portfolio is slightly stable. The portfolio consists of mixture of 15 stocks or cryptocurrency. According to the target, the weight for each individual would be BNB 0.5%, CBG 10%, ADA 0.5%, XRP 0.5%, BCH 10%, KCE 10%, EA 10%, XMR 10%, Link 0.5%, ETC 7.5%, BTS 10%, ADVANC 10%, BTC 10%, ETH 0.5%, and lastly, LTC of 10%. Next, we are going to talk about value at risk, which is suggests about how risky if investor invest in this pot. For this case, we are using the 15% chance. At 15% chance, there is possibility that investor would lose 15% of their investment. At very unlikely situation, the investor would be able to lose up to 24% of his or her investment. Next is about comparing against market return. For this case, we use regression analysis to find out the beta, which is shown in the result table, is the constant that measures the systematic risk of the portfolio. In this case, the beta, which is MKT RF in the table, is 0.16066, which is less than 1. This suggests that the risk of the portfolio is lower than the market. Thus, investors would feel that it is safer to invest.
So now let me introduce you to our third portfolio, which is about the maximum expected return to standard ratio. It is the portfolio that suits the value investor who want to maximize their return with the high risk as well. We would like to make a suggestion to our value investor on how much should you invest in each stock to have the highest expected return. So first, investors should invest in BNB, CBG, ADA, HRP, KCE, LNK, BTC, and ETH as the stock would yield the highest return. 10% of the money are recommended to invest in each of these stocks for high return, high risk, while investing other stocks less. The expected return to standard deviation is around 34%, which is a big advantage for investors that want to maximize their return with the highest risk.
Moving on to the tool that we use to test the possibility of risk, which are value at risk and tail value at risk. We can see that this portfolio have value at risk equal to minus 12% when the alpha is 20%. This implies that at 20% chance, investor will lose around 12% of the total investment. Let's say if the total investment is 1 million baht, so investor will lose around 120 million baht. This kind of portfolio is targeted toward investors who prefer high return, which they have to trade off with the high risk as well. Likewise, if we look at the risk in the worst case scenario, meaning that the average of value at risk, we can see that investors who invest in this portfolio will have to face 25% loss of their initial investment. This is the worst case scenario of the value at risk for this portfolio. So moving on to the tool that we use to test the possibility of risk, which are value at risk and tail value at risk. We can see that this portfolio have value at risk equal to minus 12% when the alpha is 20%. This implies that at 20% chance, investor will lose around 12% of the total investment. Let's say if the total investment is 1 million baht, so investor will lose around 120 million baht. This kind of portfolio is targeted toward investors who prefer high return, which they have to trade off with the high risk as well. Likewise, if we look at the risk in the worst case scenario, meaning that the average of value at risk, we can see that investors who invest in this portfolio will have to face 25% loss of their initial investment. This is the worst case scenario of the value at risk for this portfolio. So
this is the conclusion. What we want you to take away from the information that we have given you about our portfolios. For portfolio number 1, you can dive into the crypto world and still stay safe at the same time because of the very low variance or very low risk. Number 2, if you are feeling confident, you can choose portfolio 2, and thus you can make really high return. And for number 3, if you are getting turn call and you want to get the return symmetrical to your risk that you take, you can go for portfolio number 3. And here is what we really want you to remember. Invest in the future. Investing in the future while also keeping eyes on the present, with us of course. And thank you if this video finds you. It means that you have taken an interest in us, and that is very well appreciated by us.